Welcome to Legends, a series that delves into the lore within Horizon Forbidden West, a world where mysticism often goes hand in hand with ancient technology. After humans were robbed of their history and origins by the purge of the Apollo Archive, they formed many unique myths and legends to explain the world they came to inherit. This has given rise to many general understandings of the world that are less than correct when it comes to the true state of things. Corrupted spirits within fiery mountains, metal devils frozen in time, and kings that can speak with the divine providence of the sun can all be explained and traced back to events and circumstances based in science and logic. But with limited understanding, it's easy to see how one could reach for answers within the realm of the spiritual. However, even with this consistent trend of science mistaken as magic, there is one example in Horizon's world that seems to be an exception to the rule. In Horizon Zero Dawn, we were first introduced to one of the most unique characters Aloy has ever come across. Alone in the middle of the Carjasundum, we found the Banuk Shaman Brin, a man of questionable tastes and mental stability. His most iconic peculiarity, though, is the drinking of machine blood. In this, we see Aloy bring him varieties from all manner of machines, each spurring on its own frenzied vision. Now, knowing what we do of the world that came before, it might be easy to downplay the deranged shaman's predictions if they weren't eerily accurate to the past and future. In its own dedicated video, we've discussed Brin's visions at some length, but today, I wanted to discuss what role prophecy as a whole has to play in a world driven by technology like Horizon. Like in our previous New Perspective videos, we're about to dive into the highly speculative, in hopes of finding something we may have missed by examining what we know from a different point of view. So, let's ask the question, is there some manner of the supernatural at work here, or are these machine dreams just another phenomena that can be answered by a greater understanding of the 21st century? Let's begin with machine blood, the fuel of Brin's prophecies. Even among the tribal populace of the 31st century, the practice of drinking machine fluids from fallen machines isn't commonplace, but isn't altogether unheard of. In the records of Karja Healer, considerate Udane of the Blazon Arch, he recorded tales of those returning to the western edge of the Sundom, many of which drew their last breath soon after. They spoke of people in the west that also drank machine blood, with stained lips and tongues, and teeth replaced with metal. An entire people suckled from the machines, taking on new strength, wisdom, and drawing ever closer to them in the process. However, beyond this, the tales go dark, an entire tribe gone without a trace. If these people ever existed, as tales and traditions of the Forbidden West have been known to be misinterpreted by those in the East, they do appear to have completely disappeared, an unfortunate dead end in the 31st century to gain more clarity on the ritual. Surprisingly, utilizing machine oils beyond their intended purpose can be traced all the way back pre-Zero Day. In the data point Servitor Oil Masks, we hear that some believed oils taken from different personal servitors garnered an array of beneficial results when applied. Clearer skin, moisturizing effects, and better digestion were all touted as positive results. Though this was also quite eccentric, there's no mention of any effect beyond the physical. So, when it comes to blood, it seems we may have little to go on, which where most, myself included, have placed most of their focus when it comes to Brin and his visions. So this is where I began to retrace my steps and turn my attention to his other defining characteristics, such as Brin being a shaman, a Banuk shaman. Among the many cultures of the world, the Banuk historically have had a unique reverence and understanding of the machines, one they feel is a spiritual connection, but may be rooted in something more tangible than they realize. One of the most knowledgeable individuals of the 31st century, Silence, said as much when discussing the process of machine overrides with Aloy after freeing her from the Sun Ring in HZD. He states, "The underlying process isn't so different than the rites practiced by Banuk shamans. Though drinking from the machines is not the way of the Banuk, and Brin was punished for such things, their history and traditions often seek to express reverence and harmony to the machines of the world through story, song, and art. You see, I was driven back to Brin and his visions because we were granted another during our time in the Burning Shores, just in a different medium. Thanks to the scanned glyph, Machine Dreams, we came to know Brin was not only alive, but still partaking in his favorite habits. Also, that he was headed for the Burning Shores. In this place of fire and brine, an Oseram Delver laid eyes on Brin's latest work. A painting in the Banuk style left on ancient stone, the air heavy with the scent of machine oils. From the rocks and stones, the Delver heard his whispers of secrets and portents, an ancient ghost rising in the east. Though the text gives us little more to go on, I couldn't help thinking that greater secrets had to be hidden within the painting itself, a feeling cemented by another piece of Banuk art that currently resides in the cut. During our time in the Frozen Wilds, we met the Banuk painter Sakuli in her search to tell new stories through her art. These paintings can have many meanings. For this particular piece, in her words, others like mine are a call to the tribe, you could say inspiration or prophecy. Once again, easy to dismiss as nothing more than tribal mysticism, until you take a second look at her mural with all we've come to know on Aloy's continued journey. Here we see Aloy, riding a machine with more in tow, racing towards ruined towers surrounded by crashing waves. Sound familiar? Now all I can see is the Isle of Spires, and yet another Banuk prophecy that came to fruition. So what are we to make of this latest Banuk mural, left for us to ponder over, and does this prove that the Banuk as a whole have some kind of insight into the metal world that the rest of the tribes simply lack? Well, let's start with what's right in front of us. Another gift of meaning given to us by Sakuli is that the Banuk murals can also be, in her words, a call to the machines, with sacred shapes you see on metal casings or a cauldron door. Being that Brin really no longer has significant ties to the Banuk, and these symbols are reminiscent of cauldrons or even cradles, a call to the machines seems to be the most likely purpose of this art, or perhaps a call to a single machine. The ghost Brin speaks of may lead some to think foreshadowing to the coming of Nemesis, but I'm less than convinced of this fact. 1. The mention of it rising in the east would seem off for an entity currently hurtling through space, and 2. The color palette of the art doesn't seem to reflect Nemesis either. There is some red towards the center of the mural, but it's very minimal. Maybe the red triangle on the right could be a reference, but it's still not the overall focus of the piece. One may think Hephaestus, lingering in the Cauldron network, may be this entity, but the color that has defined the subfunction since the Frozen Wilds, purple, isn't prominent either. Interestingly though, another color usually quite prominent in Banuk culture is also minimal: blue. Among the Banuk, blue is sacred. In the words of the shaman Orea, the blue light is that which struggles to survive in our hearts and animates the machines, the essence of life, and in its purest form, harmony. Though as the machine's anger has grown, the blue light has faded from the world, blue is still widely used in the art Banuk create. So, why is it missing here? Perhaps because blue, most associated with Gaia and her influence over the machines, isn't the entity being hinted at either. There is one color here that is quite unique to this image, one that seems out of place from all other Banuk works I've seen, that being silver. Okay, I know what some of you may be thinking. If you've watched my content for any significant length of time, you know vast silver is a passion of mine, or at this point maybe a bit of an obsession. But you have to admit, the foreshadowing here, along with what we found in the data points past silver and Chat Buddy daily check-in, The foreshadowing has never been stronger. We've heard Banuk refer to AIs like Cyan as spirits, so ghost doesn't seem too far off to how a shaman might describe another, especially one only seen in addled visions and described by a man who speaks in fractured riddles. And if you want to talk about ancient, no true AI is older than Vast Silver, predating the original Gaia by roughly 2 decades and making it roughly 1,000 years old in Horizon's present day. Though I think all of this points to VS residing across the Great Ocean, perhaps in the cradle that birthed the Quen, this still doesn't answer my initial question. Obviously these prophecies carry credibility, especially for the Banuk. What is it about some in their tribe that seemingly gives them a tangible connection to events outside themselves and beyond their comprehension? There is obviously no concrete answer here, but if this is rooted in some kind of scientific explanation, the only thing I can think of has ties to digital transcendence. If you thought the first part of this exploration was out there, then you better grab your tinfoil hat and buckle up for this last stretch. During Forbidden West's final story mission, we hear Tilda elaborate on the intended purpose of Nemesis.
Nemesis. What is it?
It is us. The minds of Far Zenith. Or failed copies of them, anyway. Back on Sirius, some of my peers weren't satisfied with physical immortality. They wanted digital transcendence. A way to upload their minds into any form, organic or mechanical.
One aspect of this has piqued my interest since my first playthrough of the game. A way to upload their minds into any form, organic or mechanical. The next level of immortality for the Zeniths who created it. Specifically, the ability to upload a transcended consciousness into the mind of a living being. A terrifying, groundbreaking process that we've never seen in Horizon or even heard of. Right? Well, if you would, I'd like you to listen to a story, now through the lens of this kind of process being possible. This is the story of Banukai.
We remember Banukai, when the old ones were fresh in their graves and our numbers were still small. It was she who led us through the frozen wastes. We also remember the ravenous tribe, who delighted in sucking the marrow from our broken bones. Everywhere Banukai and her Werak fled, the ravenous tribe were never far behind. Seeking a way to defeat them, Banukai went into the wastes and let the wind whip her cheeks. And when the cold brought sleep, she dreamt of light. She saw it behind the world, a great calming sheet of icy blue. And she saw something new. Herds of machines, each filled with the same blue light. When she woke, she knew which star to follow. She walked for many days and nights until she arrived at a temple built from sparkling ice. At the gates of the temple, she was met by the machines from her dream, who bowed to her as she entered. Inside, Banukai discovered the blue light bubbling from a hole in the snowy earth like a spring. "You bid me come," she said. "My people need aid. Will you provide it?" The machines whispered to Banukai. "We go where the light goes, for we are its chosen vessels. There is darkness in your heart. It cannot hold the light for long. Carry it to your people if you must, but the cost will be great." Banukai waded into the pool. The light reared like a nest of snakes and struck Banukai, piercing her skin, filling her up. Banukai did not scream, though she was in agony. Banukai did not collapse, though her limbs shook. She climbed from the pool and carried the light inside her. She marched toward home, and the machines marched behind her. As she walked, the light struggled to push its way out of her, but the machines were there to aid her. She sewed her body shut with their cables, patched herself with their metal, and kept the light within. When she arrived, the forces of the ravenous tribe had surrounded the camp. Although the light had left her with 1,000 wounds, Banuk charged. And because she held the light, the machines followed. The ravenous tribe killed many, but those in camp rushed to join the battle. They gathered pieces of the fallen machines and from them fashioned weapons. And it was with these that Banukai's people repaid the suffering the ravenous tribe had wrought upon them. When quiet descended, Banukai finally fell. The machines bowed their heads, and her werak wept. The light she'd held within her drifted from her wounds and rose to the sky. And for just a moment, before life left her, Banukai knew the truth of the blue light. And she felt peace. We remember Banukai, the first to crawl from the cave beneath the world, who brought the machines to us. When we speak the name of our tribe, we remember her. And we will not forget.
With time, events like these can turn towards myth, each telling slightly changing what truly happened. The first in the Karja's radiant line was nothing more than a man with a book. Joint Task Force 10, over time and deterioration, became Join the Tenakth, and mighty CEOs of a powerful empire were inspired by much less impressive corporate CEOs. Perhaps Banukai was once, at least for a time, actually Banuk AI. This legend is so unique to Horizon's mythos. A woman guided by machine dreams who became fused with some force beyond herself, linking her to the machines of the world in a way never seen before or since. In this dire moment, taking on a power no mere human was made to bear, but made the ultimate sacrifice to save her people. What this force was exactly, I can't say. The original Gaia had high-level directives that forbid her from communicating with tribal inhabitants beyond ZD facilities. Maybe Vast Silver reached out to a human in need, imparting itself in some way to see this through. Regardless, perhaps this entity still, from time to time, finds a way to whisper to the people of its former vessel, omnipresent among the remnants of the HoloNet, with synthetic oils somehow amplifying the effect. Though there's no way of proving this at this time, one has to think, if this isn't some magical force at work here, something must be. And that brings our journey to an end. If you'd like to see more content like this, likes and shares are always appreciated, and if you're hungry for more Horizon lore, consider subscribing and checking out the rest of our library. Also consider joining our Discord community or our channel membership program to check out exclusive content on the lore of Horizon. And as always, thanks for watching and keep questing.